Polyrhythms. Polyrhythms are really super cool. I like polyrhythms. I like polyrhythms a lot. Polyrhythms are really hard because, okay, first I'm going to show you what a polyrhythm looks like. This is a polyrhythm. So that's a polyrhythm. I'm going to show you again because I like that. That's a polyrhythm. The difficulty with polyrhythms is, okay, so one arm is doing a flower. So I do an anti-spin. Theoretically, I suppose you could do a, I don't even know if you could do a regular spin flower as part of your polyrhythm. I'm assuming you could. If you want to do that, try and figure it out on your own, because that's not how I do it. So I do one-hand anti-spin. Nice little 4-petal anti-spin flower. The other hand is, I guess this is a 1-petal flower. It just makes a big circle. It's an extension of my arm. My arms are moving, okay, my arms are moving together as if I were doing like a buzzsaw fountain, but I'm not. But it's the same, your arms are moving in the same big circular motion. The only problem is, one of your arms is doing a flower, and one of your arms is doing a different flower. That's why it's a polyrhythm. It's more than one rhythm. You can't do it with like one arm doing like an 8-petal flower and the other arm doing like a 4-petal flower. Or I guess like 6 and 3, or I don't know, something crazy like 5 and 9 if you really wanted to. That would be even more difficult. Polyrhythms are hard enough to begin with. So I wouldn't recommend it. I like the polyrhythm that I do. I'm probably never going to do a different polyrhythm. Again, this is what it looks like. I think it's cool. It's also really hard. You are going to smack your strings, or you're going to smack your sticks together a lot. I would not recommend doing it with working flow toys. I made that mistake. Actually, it was both this and one-hand butterfly that I made the mistake with, because you smack your sticks together a lot on those two. And I broke several flow toys doing that. So don't use anything that you don't want broken when you're practicing this. So I start from a regular butterfly and then just start moving. And this one continues its half of the butterfly motion. It continues making that that circle. The other one stops after the last butterfly spin and just starts making big circles. I don't know what the exact motion of your hands is. Your hands are just doing, it's not the finger motion. How do I explain this? It's not what your hands are doing, it's where your hands are that makes it difficult. Because there will be times in which the anti-spin hand is in front of the circle hand, and there will be times when it is behind the circle hand. And if you do a really slow motion, or if you take a video of a really slow motion polyrhythm, you can probably see when and where that is. But in my experience, it's been a lot easier to just try polyrhythms over and over and over again, and eventually your hands will just figure it out on their own. Yeah. the thing that makes polyrhythms hard is not so much concentrating on the two different rhythms, as you might think, although if you were doing something crazy like a 3/6, so this is a 1/4 polyrhythm, because it's one pedal and 4 pedals. If you were doing something crazy like a 3/6 polyrhythm, I imagine keeping track of the pedals would be somewhat more complicated and somewhat more difficult. Keeping track of the pedals in a 1/4 polyrhythm is not that difficult. What is difficult is, crap, what was difficult? I had it in mind. Oh, speed. Speed, that's what's difficult. Speed sucks. Because when you're doing one of these, it's natural. The stick is covering significantly more length. If you took the amount of linear distance that your anti-spin flower stick covers in one rotation, it's a lot longer than just a circle. Which means it takes a lot longer for it to make a full rotation. But they're moving together, which means they have to be moving at the same rotational speed. Yay, math, physics, I like them. Go take physics. Physics is awesome. They have to be moving at the same rotational speed, even though this one is covering more linear distance than this one. Which means this stick is actually moving a lot faster than this one. This one is going to be moving about as slow as you can possibly have it move without it falling out of the circle. So I'm going to show you what it looks like when it falls out of the circle when you're moving too slow. See how it doesn't actually make a full circle? It just kind of makes an oval. This is what it looks like when it's doing a full circle. This is what it looks like when you're just kind of going too slow. See, it kind of does like a stall on this side when you go too slow, and then just kind of goes around like this. Whereas the other side is going to be moving as fast as possible without messing up the anti-spin flower. So if you watch how fast each individual stick is going. See, this hand is actually, or this stick is actually moving significantly slower because it has less area to cover. This one is moving really, really, really fast, and I just hit myself, and it hurts. Don't do that. This one is moving really, really, really fast because it has to keep up. And that is the most difficult part of polyrhythms. Polyrhythms are cool if you get them. Know when to stop doing polyrhythms, because if you keep doing the same polyrhythm for too long, they're eventually going to hit, your sticks are eventually going to hit each other, and it's going to look sloppy and gross. So I would recommend just doing like 2 or 3 rotations and then transitioning into wraps or more butterfly, or like butterfly fountain or something. I like butterfly fountain. I like fountains. Anyway, that's polyrhythm. Have fun with it. Yeah.